Last June, I ripped out 6 tomato plants from my raised bed. They were tall, leafy, and absolutely barren. Not a single fruit among them. My neighbor, a retired soil biologist named Margaret, who grows tomatoes the size of softballs, walked over and asked me one question. What did you feed your soil? I told her I had used a premium synthetic fertilizer from the garden center, the kind with a giant tomato on the bag. She smiled and said, "You fed the plant. You starved the ground." Then she walked me into her kitchen, pulled yeast and molasses from her pantry, and showed me a homemade recipe that changed everything. 2 weeks later, my replacement plants were darker, thicker, and already setting fruit. It cost almost nothing, it worked fast, and the results looked like magic. But the science is simple and natural. Welcome to Grow Simple. Today, I am sharing that exact recipe, and more importantly, I'm going to teach you why it works so you never have to take anyone's word for it again. Hit subscribe if you want more garden wisdom that works with nature instead of against it. Let us get into it. I'll start with the most important thing you need to understand about growing tomatoes, because once you see it, you will garden differently forever. You are not feeding the plant, you are feeding the soil, and the soil feeds the plant. This is the whole secret, and almost everyone has it backward. Most gardeners think fertilizer is food you hand straight to the roots, like setting a plate in front of a child. So they buy a bag of blue powder that dumps salt and nitrogen directly onto the ground. The plant gulps it and shoots up fast and green and weak. The stems stretch, the leaves get big, but the fruit never comes the way it should. What is actually happening underground is a hidden world of bacteria and fungi that break down organic matter and deliver nutrients to the roots in a form the plant can actually use. A single teaspoon of healthy soil contains more living organisms than there are people on this planet. Billions of microscopic workers, all converting minerals into plant-available food. They form a complex food web. Bacteria feed on organic matter, protozoa eat the bacteria and release nitrogen in a form roots can absorb. Fungi extend the reach of roots by forming vast underground networks that shuttle water and nutrients across distances the plant could never reach alone. A tired, lifeless soil has too few of these microbes, so the plant starves, even in what looks like good ground. You do not need to force-feed the plant. You need to wake up the living soil underneath it. And that is exactly what this tonic does. It is not plant food. It is food for the life in the soil. You feed them, they multiply, and they feed your tomato. That is why a few cups of this homemade mixture does what a whole bag of synthetic fertilizer cannot. The synthetic stuff is like giving a person an IV drip of sugar water. It works fast, but it does not build health. This tonic is like feeding someone a balanced meal. It takes a little longer, but the results last. Here's the recipe. It makes 1 gallon, and you likely have most of it in your house right now. You need 4 things. First, yeast. Plain baking yeast, the kind for bread, about a tablespoon. The yeast is the heart of the whole thing because it's a living organism. When you add yeast to warm water with a food source, it wakes up and begins feeding and multiplying. Each yeast cell divides and produces carbon dioxide and a range of enzymes as it grows. When you pour that active yeast into your soil, it stirs the whole underground ecosystem to life. It wakes up the good bacteria and the helpful fungi already down there, and feeds them with the byproducts of its own growth. It speeds the rotting of old matter in the ground into available nutrients. Dead roots, fallen leaves, bits of compost, all of it gets broken down faster and turned into food your tomato roots can absorb. That is the engine of this entire recipe. Second, molasses, about 2 tablespoons. If you have no molasses, plain sugar will do the same amount, though molasses is better because it carries minerals that plain sugar does not. Iron, potassium, a little magnesium, and calcium. The molasses is the food that keeps the yeast alive and multiplying. Without a sugar source, the yeast has nothing to eat and dies before it can do any good in your garden. Molasses also feeds the native bacteria already present in your soil, giving them an immediate energy boost. Third, if you have it, a cup of buttermilk. This one is not strictly necessary, so do not worry if you have none. But it earns its place because it brings calcium, and calcium is the very thing a tomato is always short of. When a tomato goes black and sunken on the bottom, that ugly blossom end rot, that is calcium it never got. The buttermilk helps head it off while strengthening the cell walls of the developing fruit. Stronger cell walls mean firmer tomatoes that last longer after harvest. And fourth, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, no more. That 1 teaspoon matters, and too much undoes the whole thing. The baking soda gently settles the sourness at the soil surface and makes it a less friendly place for the molds and blights that plague a tomato. Early blight, late blight, and powdery mildew all prefer slightly acidic conditions. A small amount of baking soda shifts the pH just enough to discourage them without harming your plants. Every one of the 4 ingredients has a job. None is there by accident. Now the water, 1 gallon. And the water matters more than most people think. You want it lukewarm, about the warmth of bath water, not hot. Hot water kills the yeast before it starts. If the water is too cold, the yeast stays dormant and never activates. You need that Goldilocks temperature, around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. If you can comfortably hold your finger in it, it is right. And it must be clean water with no chlorine in it, because chlorine is put in town water for the very purpose of killing little living things. That is exactly the opposite of what we are trying to do here. Chlorinated water poured onto your soil can set back the very microbes you are trying to encourage. If you have a rain barrel, use that water. Free and clean and with nothing in it to harm the life we are trying to grow. If you have no rainwater, let tap water sit open overnight so the chlorine lifts off, or use spring water for a small batch. The extra effort of dechlorinating your water is one of those small details that separates a thriving garden from one that just survives. Now, here is the step everyone is too impatient for, and impatience is why their batch fails. You wake the yeast up first. Take your warm water and stir in the molasses or sugar until it is dissolved. Then sprinkle the yeast across the top. Do not stir it in. Just lay it on the surface so it can spread and breathe. Yeast needs oxygen to activate properly. If you stir it under immediately, you slow down the process. Then you wait. Give it a couple hours at least. But the first time you do this, leave it overnight. When you come back, you want to see a foam on top, a tan froth like the head on a glass of beer. That froth is the yeast come alive and feeding. If you see that foam, your tonic is alive and it will work. If you see nothing, your yeast was dead and you start over. Better to learn that from a bucket than from a dead seedling. That overnight wait is the whole difference between a tonic that works and a jar of plain water. Once it is foaming, stir in your buttermilk if you're using it, and last of all, the 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Your gallon is made. You can store this in a covered bucket for up to a week. Give it a stir before each use because the ingredients will settle. The smell should be yeasty and slightly sweet, not rotten. If it smells putrid, something went wrong, and you should discard it and start fresh. Now, how to use this tonic. But before I get into that, I want you to think about something. If you have ever stood in front of your tomato plants in August, looking at all that green foliage and almost no fruit, and wondered what went wrong after spending money on fertilizer and doing everything the bag told you to do, you are not alone. I've been there, and I'm willing to bet half the people watching this video have been there too. Tell me in the comments if that sounds familiar. Because the answer to what went wrong is not in the bag you bought, it is in the soil beneath your feet. Now, here is where people do real harm if they are careless, so listen close. First, never pour it on dry ground straight at the stem. Water your garden lightly first, plain water, so the soil is damp. Pouring a strong living brew onto bone-dry roots can shock them. The concentration of active yeast and microbes hitting dehydrated root tissue is like dumping a bucket of cold water on someone who just woke up. Damp the ground first, always. Second, you pour it on the soil around the plant, not on the leaves and not right against the stem. Pour it out a few inches from the stem in a ring where the feeding roots are reaching. Tomato roots spread outward, not just downward. The fine feeder roots that absorb most of the nutrients are located in the top few inches of soil, extending in a circle around the plant. That ring is your target. On the leaves, the tonic does no good and can invite fungal trouble, especially in humid summer weather.
Third, and this is the one that trips people up, do not overdo it.
You will be tempted. You will think if 1 spoon of yeast is good, 3 is better. You will pour it on heavy, hoping to double the magic. Do not. Too much throws the soil out of balance. The microbes crowd and compete, and you get a plant all leaf and no fruit, big and bushy and giving you nothing to eat. The right measure is the right measure. For a seedling, just a few drops near each one twice a week. For a young plant in a container or a pot on your patio, a 1/4 cup. For a grown plant in the ground or a raised bed, up to a full cup. Once or twice a week, no more. You still water normal the rest of the time. This is a tonic, not the drink. Consistency matters more than quantity. A small, regular dose does far more good than a heavy pour once a month. Do that, and over the next few weeks, you will see it. Greener leaves first within a week or so. That is the nitrogen-fixing bacteria waking up and starting to work. Then thicker stems and more branching. The added potassium from the molasses strengthens the vascular system of the plant. Then the blooms come, and the blooms are the tomatoes coming. I will not promise you some exact number that your plant will triple by Tuesday, because every garden and every soil is its own thing. A sandy soil will respond differently than a heavy clay. A backyard that has been gardened organically for years will respond faster than ground that has been doused with chemicals for a decade. But I will tell you plainly, feed the soil this way, and your plants come on stronger and bear better than the ones you left to fend for themselves. And once you've seen the two side by side, you will not garden the old hungry way again. It works the same for your cucumbers, your squash, your peppers, the whole vegetable garden, not tomatoes only. This is an easy, cheap, organic hack that keeps working season after season because it builds your soil instead of depleting it. Each application leaves the ground richer than it found it. Now let me tell you who profits from you not knowing that a tablespoon of yeast would do it. Not to anger you, just so you see the shape of the thing. There is no money in yeast and molasses and rainwater. You already own them. But there is a great deal of money in a bag of blue powder with a picture of a giant tomato on it, sold to you every spring, season after season. That fast, salty powder feeds the plant directly and bypasses the soil life. Over years, it can leave your soil deader than it found it, more lifeless, more dependent. So you must buy more powder next year to make up for it. A tonic that builds your soil richer every season makes you need less help over time. A powder that feeds the plant and starves the ground makes you need more. One of those two is a far better business, and it is not the one that helps your garden. Nobody had to scheme this in a back room. It simply pays better to sell a plant food that leaves the soil hungry than to teach a gardener to feed the soil for free. A healthy backyard tomato plant does not need a bag from the store. It needs the microbes, the fungi, the bacteria, and the nutrients already waiting in good organic soil to be unlocked. This tonic unlocks them. A handful of compost and worm castings added to your soil makes it even richer. This is DIY gardening at its simplest and most effective. There you have it, a gallon of homemade tonic that costs pennies. But here's what I really want you to remember, because Margaret told me something that day in my garden that has never left me. She said, "Most people treat soil like it's just dirt, something to hold the plant upright. But soil is alive. It breathes, it eats, it can be healthy or it can be sick. And when you feed it, really feed it, it will give you more than you ever thought possible from a single seed." She was right. The day I stopped feeding my plants and started feeding my soil was the day I became a real gardener. Not someone who buys solutions in a bag, someone who grows them from the ground up. I want to hear from you. What are you growing this season? And have you ever fed your soil instead of just feeding your plants? Tell me in the comments. If you want more garden wisdom that works with nature instead of against it, subscribe to Grow Simple. Now, go make that tonic. Your garden has been waiting for you to feed it the right way.